Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Reber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental disorders out there, bipolar disorder. Each week, we're going to learn more about my personal journey with the disorder while leaving you enriched with new information on how you can help better yourself as well as those around you. Hey everyone! So, for today's episode, we're going to go over a couple different things, starting with what exactly bipolar disorder is. We're going to go over the different types of bipolar disorder. Yes, you heard that correctly, different types. I don't know who ever created the one size fits all idea back in, the dinosaur age or whatever, but there is no such thing as a one size fits all. So, bipolar disorder, just like anything else, has a couple different types and everybody experiences them a little bit differently. And then we're also going to go over what type of bipolar disorder that I have been diagnosed with. So, to kick things off, bipolar disorder, as described by the National Institute of Mental Health, is a mental disorder that causes unusual shifts in mood, energy, activity levels, concentration, and the ability to carry out day to day tasks. Real quick, just so you guys know, I'm going to go and have the link that I found all of this information on posted to the Facebook group page along with today's episode announcement. And then it's also going to be in the show description for anyone who has not yet found our Facebook page. Going back to the actual topic. So the word polar and bipolar is kind of like, the phrase polar opposite. So it just means that there's just two different ends of a spectrum. Like you think of the North Pole and the South Pole. So the two polars of bipolar disorder would be manic episodes and depressive episodes. Now, manic episodes are like being up. So your mood is elated, you're highly energized, and you can feel irritable all at the same time during these. And then experiencing a depressive episode is like a down mood. So you'll be feeling sad, indifferent, hopeless, that kind of thing. Now, when I refer to these episodes, so a little more depth on each of them. So, manic episodes, like I mentioned, it's highly energized. You just feel like you just have so much energy. And with that, you just are so productive with it too. I mean, I know for a fact that I've gone through phases where I'm just so productive and it's outrageous. But also during manic episodes, you tend to have a reduced need for sleep as well as a kind of a loss of touch with reality. So that last bit I haven't had too much of a experience with, I guess I should say. I mean, I probably have, but maybe I just don't realize it cuz it's just something I'm just used to at this point. But lack of sleep for sure cuz there's sometimes where I will get 5 hours of sleep and still have more energy than the Energizer bunny and people are like amazed and I'm like, "Yeah, I only slept 5 hours last night." And they're like, "What?" So when you're highly energized, you're just kind of like go, 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 go. So if something gets in the way and causes you to stop, oh God, that is the best way to set off an irritable mood swing during a manic episode for somebody who deals with this kind of stuff. Cause I know it's happened to me more times than I can count. I'm like so into something, and man, it can be something as simple as like the computer. Like I'm doing something and I'm moving so quickly, and the computer's not moving fast enough for me. And then I get mad at it. And that's like a real thing, y'all. This actually happens probably outside of my manic episodes. It's probably just who I am. So those are the feelings and some of the actions associated with that. Then you've got the depressive side. So when you're going through one of those episodes, you have low energy. You don't really have a lot of motivation to do anything, and you've lost interest in your daily activities. This isn't even just with bipolar guys, but anybody who is struggling with depression in general, the loss of interest in daily activities, that is a number one kickoff of, okay, this person, whether it be myself or my friend, is in a state where they need help. Because at that point, it's really, really hard for them just to get out of that stage by themselves. Trust me, I've been there countless times and I am very familiar with all of that. But the loss in daily activities, I mean, most of you guys know that I love to sew. That's one of my favorite hobbies. When I am feeling depressed or kind of like in one of these depressive episodes, sewing is the last thing I want to do. Like I don't want to touch it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to think about it. And that is not normally how I would act. So that's just kind of one little key thing that you guys can kind of focus on, or not focus on, but pay attention to those around you and your friends. If you start to notice that they no longer want to do things that they typically love to do, that's a sign they may need some help, whether it be from you or somebody else. Just keep that in mind. So let's kind of go over the two different episodes and what types of behaviors are usually engaged with during the different types. So with manic, these are like an emotional high. The emotional high of a manic episode, you just kind of feel invincible, which sounds super crazy, but it's true. Like you just feel so damn good that you could just do literally anything. During these manic episodes, depending on how extreme they are, sometimes you can do very irresponsible things during these times. The feelings and thoughts behind this are, wow, like I can do anything, so I'm going to drive recklessly and nothing bad's going to happen to me. So actually I used to do that. I would drive my car very fast and dangerously and recklessly, and it was no big deal because I felt like nothing's going to happen to me. No biggie. Though if you look at my driving record, you'll see otherwise. Often too, another thing is that not even that you're not thinking before you speak, is that sometimes I would speak so fast that people couldn't understand me because of how fast I was talking. But on top of that, my brain was moving faster than my mouth. So sometimes I would trip over my words during things like this because what's happening in my head is going faster than my mouth can keep up. And I can actually recall an instance when I was hanging out with my friend Corey. If you're listening, shout out to you. I remember sitting there talking to him and talking so fast that everything just started jumbling up in my mouth. Thankfully, I've known him long enough and well enough that he understood. He was still able to make out what I was trying to say. But looking back now, I realized that I was definitely dealing with a bunch of manic things during that time. And that was a really big sign right there that I completely missed at the time because I wasn't very self aware back then. Couple other things that tend to happen during manic episodes are things like acting out sexually. So that could be, I mean, one night stand after one night stand after one night stand, or that could just be, constantly hitting up the same person you've been casually seeing, or going on like 500 Tinder dates within like a week's time. That could be all those kind of things. Spending excess amounts of money on useless things. Wow. Y'all, I used to do that so bad. That's why I had 7 bags of clothes to donate after I started losing weight because I just would spend so much money on things I would just never even use or touch. And often that would put myself in very sticky situations when it came time to pay my bills. The problem with that though is the spending the excess amount of money on when you don't really have it. That right there actually is a very great example of a loss of touch of reality. And I know I struggled with that a lot in my early 20s, especially because I was living by myself, working 2 jobs, and one of them being a server job. You can think, oh, well, I'll just make this money back tomorrow. And then you go to work tomorrow and it doesn't happen because that's the gamble of being a server. So let's move on to depressive episodes, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically depression in just a wave form that just kind of hits you sometimes out of nowhere. And you end up feeling very sad or hopeless. I would often cry uncontrollably for no specific reason, just at random moments. Or sometimes I would just feel absolutely nothing at all. An emptiness that resulted in me not giving a shit about anything, laying around doing nothing, and I was just numb. Examples of my behavior during these times and these episodes would be staying in bed for days, just constantly watching Netflix all day. And okay, let me just stop right here. This is not like a Netflix and chill where you just like binge all day long because we all do that. This is a little bit different because I would literally only get up to pee and get more food and then just crawl back under the covers and just hide there. So it's not like oh, I just want to lay around and do nothing type thing. It was like, no, I don't feel good about myself or about anything in general. I feel very sad. I don't want to move. I don't want to interact with people. I don't want to do anything. And often when I would do this, my phone, I would slide it across the room or I would put it way out of reach because I didn't care. I wouldn't respond to text messages from people. I would have friends reaching out saying, hey, you want to hang out? And I would just leave them hanging. What is that? Ghost them? Yeah, I would ghost them. And these weren't intentional things. It's just, I just felt so awful and hopeless and not good that I didn't want to interact with anybody else because I didn't feel like I deserved their presence or I just didn't have the energy to be around them. So either of the two. I would often overeat lots of unhealthy garbage, and that actually was even worse for the situation. I would go and I'd get a ton of fast food, or, even worse, I'd go to like the grocery store. I'd get, oh, my favorite, Stouffer's mac and cheese. I would get the biggest thing of Stouffer's mac and cheese that you could get, the microwavable one. Oh man, so good. But I would not just get that. I would eat all of that. I would eat like a whole bag of those Pepperidge Farm cookies, the dark chocolate raspberry ones, and also a can of Pringles. Oh, and then like 3 Cokes to go along with it. Literally eat all of that within one sitting while laying in bed watching Netflix. So that just contributed to me feeling bad about myself because I would eat it all and I would feel good within those 5 minutes. Then I would be mad at myself for consuming all of that. And, it's just a cycle, and it's really hard to break sometimes. And then another thing I would do, which I don't know if anybody else has actually done this, or maybe I haven't heard anyone admit to doing this, but I would often, when I was in these depressive episodes and these moods, I would listen to really sad songs repeatedly and think about how pathetic I was or how gross I was. And I would just sob, and just thought no one loved me. And guys, these are real feelings and real emotions that I felt often. I went through a lot of very depressive episodes throughout my early 20s. And some of this, might sound a little crazy to someone who's never experienced any of it, but these are real feelings and real emotions. And guys, these type of things, they'll go away. If you're happen to feel any of these kind of emotions, just hear me out. It's not always going to be like that. Thankfully, I never chose to engage in self harm. I guess I was just too afraid to go that far. But I do know that that is sometimes an action taken by those struggling with depression. So if you've ever had any thoughts of self harm, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. And I'm also going to put their website link, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. I'll put that link also on the Facebook post as well as the show description for anybody who needs it. Guys, I know that these can be very scary thoughts and feelings and emotions, and I have felt all of them just as some of you may have. But I want you to know that there's a healthy way out. It's not a quick and easy fix. You can do it. Just be patient and get the help you need, professional help you need, as well as the support in your daily life and your community. And just give yourself some time and some grace. That's really, really what you're going to need to do. With all of that, now that you have the definitions of all those kinds of things, the gist of bipolar as a whole, let's look at the different types. Because, yes, that's right, there are different types. There are actually 3 main types that I'm going to go over with you guys. The first one is bipolar 1. That one is defined by manic episodes that last at least 7 days, or by manic symptoms that are so severe that the person needs immediate hospital care. I personally have never experienced any of those. I'll get to which type I am in just a moment. But I do know that those things do take place. By the severity of these is that sometimes when someone's dealing with a manic episode and they lose touch of reality, that is a lot of times when they end up with the hospitalization and that kind of care. And that can get really scary, you guys. Because whereas my loss of touch with reality was just spending copious amounts of money that I needed to be saving for bills and just not paying attention and not thinking responsibly about that kind of stuff, there are a lot of other actions that can be taken during these times that are a lot more severe and have much harder consequences. Again, I'm very grateful that I have not ever hit that level of this, and maybe hopefully I never will. Yes, just know it can be scary. That's something that does happen. These are real things. And then depressive episodes for bipolar 1 occur as well, but those typically last at least 2 weeks or longer. So these episodes of depression have mixed features. Sometimes they have manic and depressive symptoms at the same time, and sometimes they're just straight depression. And now these can be even lower. This is sometimes, like, this is really hard to say, but unfortunately, this is the truth. But this is sometimes where with bipolar 1, when they hit the depressive episodes, they hit a point so low where they think that there's rock bottom and that there's no way to come out from it. And unfortunately, sometimes is when they take the unthinkable matters into their own hands. If you have anyone in your life that is struggling with bipolar 1 disorder, please be very gracious and patient with them. they are struggling probably twice or 3 times harder than I ever have, and so they really need a great support system around them. So moving on to bipolar 2, which is actually the type that I have been diagnosed with, it's defined by a pattern of depressive episodes and hypomanic episodes, but not full-blown manic episodes that are typical of bipolar 1. So the depressive episodes I've been through were probably just as severe as bipolar 1, but I have never experienced a full-blown manic episode, and like I said, I probably and hopefully never will, especially since I'm medicated and all the things I need. But hypomanic is basically it's a lighter version of what a manic episode would be, and oftentimes there's depressive swings in there too, which I know this is probably a little confusing and a lot because this is a lot of information for y'all to consume and digest, but hopefully I'm portraying it to you and feeding it to you in a way that you can understand it a little bit better from a perspective of somebody who actually deals with this versus just reading about it on paper because we can all do that. And actually, who does do that? Not many people. Then there's the last type that I'm going to talk about, which is cyclothematic disorder, which I may have pronounced that wrong. I had to look up the pronunciation multiple times because I'm really bad at pronouncing things. This one is defined by periods of hypomanic symptoms as well as periods of depressive symptoms that last for at least 2 years. However, the symptoms do not meet the diagnostic requirements for a hypomanic episode and a depressive episode. So basically, this type of disorder is more short term, whereas bipolar disorder is usually a lifelong thing. Once you get diagnosed with it, you're kind of stuck with it. But cyclothematic disorder is a little bit different because it's just for a period of time. So often this can happen to people after a very traumatic event happens in their life, and it kind of like alters your brain a little bit. That's the chemistry of your brain gets altered slightly, and then this can occur with therapy and with work and sometimes also medication. I think you can actually undo this type of thing. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know a whole lot about this type I don't have it, so I don't do research on things that don't really pertain to me, as a lot of people don't. Oh, goodness. If you want more information on this one specifically, please just check out the resources that I have listed for you guys again in our Facebook community group page and also on the show description. And that way you can find out the information that you are possibly seeking. So, for me, what it's like to live with bipolar 2 disorder. So, up until recently, the episodes have been a lot more spread out and much easier to manage. But lately, with so many changes happening that have disrupted my daily life due to this so fun, and that's very sarcastic if you did not catch that, pandemic that we're all dealing with, my episodes have started to become a little more frequent again. And these last anywhere from a couple of days to a week or longer sometimes. Recently, they've been about a week at a time, and it's more so been the depressive side. I am super extroverted, super disgustingly extroverted. And so having to stay away from people and be trapped inside my or my boyfriend's house all the time has just taken a really big toll on me mentally and emotionally. And so that has spiked a lot of episodes and triggered just a lot more of the depressive side. Now, before the pandemic, I haven't really experienced much of this since I moved at the end of 2019. So, like September of 2019. Typically, for me, I've noticed that a lot of times what triggers depressive episodes in me is a huge shift in my daily routine. So, something that's super important for me and for anybody out there struggling with either depression or bipolar disorder, that routine is so important for us. My therapist has told me that for years, so many years. I didn't want to listen until recently, which she's probably like, thank God, because she's been saying the same things to me since I was 18. And I don't think I started listening till I was 24. So, y'all, that's 6 years of repeating yourself to the same person. And that's got to be tiring. I could never be a counselor or a therapist. So, to all of y'all out there listening who are one of those, we love you. We need you. We appreciate you. You are awesome. Back to the whole routine situation. So she had told me for years, you need to get in a routine and have habits that are good, and then you just keep them up, and life is great. which I found when I got my last job or started working my last job, excuse me, as a chiropractic assistant, that she was right because I had a super steady routine. Monday through Thursday, I woke up at 5:50 a.m. I got to the office by 7:25 a.m. I worked until about 1 p.m. or so. Had an hour lunch break, went back to work until about 6:30, left work, went to my workout camp, came home, ate dinner, chilled for a little while if time allowed, because sometimes I would talk way too long after Camp Gladiator and forget what time it was, and then start doing my bedtime routine, and then start the whole thing over again. So doing that Monday through Thursday, and then the weekends I was off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So those were just kind of like free for all. If I was in town, I would always find something to do. And if I wasn't, then that means I was definitely doing something. But so because there was a constant routine, a constant, ball moving, it was really hard for me to slip into a depressive mode because everything was just moving steadily like it should. And it kind of just kept everything even on my spectrum of things. No super highs, no super lows. Everything was just even. Then this pandemic hit and all kinds of things got jumbled up. There's no routine. 85% of the time, I don't know what day of the week it is, which I don't know if you guys are in the same boat, but I highly think that you are. So because of that disruption, it caused a lot more of the depressive episodes to show back up, especially because I've had a lot of time to think. And when you have too much time to think, your mind wanders and creates stories and made up situations that never happened that are negative and can consume you, and just it's not good, y'all. It's really not. Hopefully things will start to, quote, go back to normal in the world with this pandemic. But I mean, until then, we'll just wait it out and I'll just keep doing things I need to do to keep me moving. And I hope the same for you. So that's the gist of kind of what it's like for me dealing with that on a day to day basis, considering this pandemic. Later on, I'll touch base on that again and we'll kind of go over like a recap, I guess, of how I'm feeling now versus how I was feeling during the pandemic. I think that would be really, really cool to see. With that being said, let's go ahead and get this wrapped up because that was a lot of information. Hopefully, not too boring for you. So, thanks for sitting with me and listening to me pour my heart out about all of these things. And just a couple things that I wanted to leave you with right now in regards to possibly seeking help for the first time. So, while listening to all of this, I'm sure some of you guys have been thinking, oh, wow, that sounds like me, or I've been through similar things. Do I have bipolar disorder? Do I need to see somebody? If that is the case and you're thinking about seeing someone for the first time, first of all, I want you to tell your partner, if you're in a relationship, or your closest friend how you're feeling and that you're thinking of seeking professional help. Seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Let me throw that out there one more time for the people in the back. Seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Okay, now that I've said that twice, you should all heard that and hopefully, absorbed that message. I think that telling a special person in your life, someone who's close to you, that this is something that you're thinking about doing is very, very important. One, so that they can be supportive of you and that they can help you along the way. Because this is a journey, y'all. This is not a one and done type thing. I don't know anything that's a one and done type thing when it comes to medical field. This is medical field, just to clarify. So not only would having them there to support you be very, very helpful and make the process a little bit smoother and easier for you, but also they can be there as kind of like a backup because I know that it's a scary thought to go see a healthcare professional for mental health for the first time. I mean, next episode, we're going to go over all of that for me, and I will just tell you point blank how it made me feel and all of that kind of stuff. But the point is, if you have someone there who knows that you are planning to go do this, they can be the little push you need sometimes. Like, like your trainer who's like, hey, I haven't seen you working out with us. Why not? Like, that's kind of like the same thing. It's like, hey, have you gone and saw a psychiatrist yet? Oh, why not? And then hopefully they can encourage you and motivate you to do what you need to do. That's just my thoughts on telling someone what you're planning to do. It's accountability. That's the word I've been searching for. It just came to me. Accountability, like an accountability partner. That's what we're looking for with this. Same things, y'all. Same things. And just to let you know, the people in your life, they want to understand you and they want to be there for you. Just a quick example is my boyfriend Monish. When I met him, I had already been diagnosed years prior before meeting him. But once I opened up to him about my struggles with the disorder and being diagnosed, he wanted to know about my disorder, but he asked questions all the time so that he can try and understand me better. Y'all, he goes out of his way to do things or to say things or to not say things in order to help keep me at peace because he knows that I struggle with a lot of things. And since I'm open with him about it and have communicated that this is what I struggle with, can you do this or can you not do this to help me? He is so willing to. Same for the people in your life. Yes, same for you. They want to be there for you and they want to help you if you'll just let them. Sometimes that's the hardest part is letting people help you. I'm the epitome of that. I'm very independent and I don't want help. And that was the hardest part for me to just let go and let people help me. And you can do it too. You really can. I promise. Now, another thing that I would encourage you to do if you're looking to seek help from a psychiatrist or psychologist or just a healthcare professional, therapist in general, that was said backwards, but you know what I meant. Try to think about if there's someone that you know in your life who has a current psychiatrist or a therapist and ask them about their experience. So it's good to hear how they felt and what they went into and what they experienced. But also, I mean, they might have a recommendation for you of someone who you can go see. Because just like any doctor out there, guys, you should be shopping for doctors. That's going to sound weird. I know it does sound really weird, but think about it. You shop for a car, you go and you try out this car and you don't like this little Honda. Nope. You go check out this Toyota and you're like, wow, this Toyota is pretty good and they last forever. But then you check out the Nissan and you're like, yep, Nissan's for me. You do the same with your apartments and the same for your houses. You can do the same for your doctors, you guys. When you are looking for a doctor, you have to find one that fits well with your personality, especially when it comes to mental health. Because if you don't get along with them very well, you're not going to want to go see them. It's not going to be helpful for either of the people, and it's just not going to work. And then possibly you'll just give up altogether. With that being said, I highly recommend checking out this website called psychologytoday.com. It's a really great resource to finding a local psychiatrist that might work for you. You just put in your zip code and it generates a list of all of the psychiatrists in your area, plus a breakdown of each one. So in this breakdown, it's going to include what they specialize in, bipolar disorder, depression, schizophrenia, etc. It's going to list where they went to school, how long they've been in practice, the age range that they typically work with, the communities they're involved with, the insurance they accept, their non-insurance pricing. Plus, now it's got this really cool feature that it lists if they accept video/phone sessions, which is super great during this pandemic where we cannot be in contact with other people. So it lists a couple other things. Those are just the main ones that most people are concerned about when looking for a new doctor. And so, again, highly recommend psychologytoday.com where you can find your newest psychologist. Actually, this is not an ad. I know it sounded like one. I just thought about that. That was not an ad. I did not get paid for that. But if they'd like to pay me for that, I would not object at all. So, to wrap things up, next episode, we're going to dive right into my diagnosis, my experience with getting diagnosed, and what provoked little 16-year-old Bailey to seek professional help from a psychiatrist. Till next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye.